Indiscriminate. Vile.
My lord, the preparations are complete. You will have Aumen soon enough.
Liar bows low for Krog Vitanel, pressing his snout into the dirt. Vitanel nods slow, turning to face his third general.
Liar, with everything in place, this means your tribe will come to fruition. I demand the name of your tribe.
Vitanel says while pacing through the lush forest. Already the nest had grown through the forest without resistance, and being unnoticed by the Empire for several weeks, an entire tribe was formed right under the Empire's nose. Vitanel had only finished cloning General Liar within the last few days, and he could tell the promising amount of loyalty to himself. Something was different about this clone's personality. Liar had formed a strange attachment to his tribe, which made every Kragaan therein fight with the strength of 100 in each. His leadership, outstanding. His sense of spirit, unfaltering.
I will name my tribe Wild Tribe, in honor of this forest which has surely protected us and helped transfer the spirit of the wilds into each of my own. They will strike the hardest and become unstoppable to the Empire. This is my oath. I consign only to death to separate me from my word, my lord.
Liar marks his body with his clawed, stumpy finger, edging out some of his scales along his chest in the shape of the Kragaan symbol for loyalty. Krog Vitanel nods again, smiling his toothy grin. The entire forest was buzzing with nest activity. Grunts barely out of the vat chamber were ready for war immediately upon rolling onto their feet. Some lucky Kragaan were being issued rocks or pieces of crudely sharpened mystery metal fragments, then immediately told where to go by higher-ranking Krog soldiers. Kragaan are hungry creatures, and being just born makes a soldier very hungry indeed. Some were attacking each other, viciously tearing away at their faces and necks to try and kill the weakest and eat them. Being somewhat social creatures as well, the cloned Kragaan soldiers were grouped together, grumbling, laughing, snorting, and being generally stupid. A Kragaan clone was just scarfing down some partially rotted animal flesh, then began to choke on lodged meat. It struggled and hit its own stomach to dislodge the blockage, but to no avail. It thrashed around for a solid 4 minutes, bumping into other Kragaan that didn't even lift a finger to try and save him. The choking clone falls on the ground, spazzing out a few times, then fell silent. His comrades chuckled at the idiotic death, then leapt onto his body to consume it. To any expert military member, this would be a nightmare of garrison. No organization, no supply, and no discipline. A mosh pit of raider mentality idiots with knives, hatchets, and sometimes guns. A group of Kragaan soldiers galloped through the area, knocking over everyone they struck. In a matter of moments, they were tackled into the side, and a fight broke out in the main nest chamber. Krog Vitanel eyeballs the situation, observing all the fighting Kragaan.
That one, Liar. Does he have a name?
Vitanel points to the rather lean-appearing Kragaan with dark orange stripes down his front. Most Kragaan clones were bulky and stocky, so it was rare to see a smaller-framed clone.
None of my legion have picked their names yet. What is your interest, my lord?
Liar's heavy tail flicks about as he speaks. Vitanel does not respond, but simply gets closer to watch the fight. Flashes of orange, yellow, green, and black scales churned up the land as 4 Kragaan duked it out. The first clone to go down was swiftly cut by a knife-wielding Kragaan, sliced in the throat and kicked to the dirt. The same Kragaan was suddenly tackled from the side, and his blade was knocked from his hand. He tries to react, but a heavy stone is suddenly dropped on his head. A short cry of rage, and the Kragaan was silent. The lean Kragaan stole the blade from the dirt and decided to hide it in his mouth. The other Kragaan was just recovering from having his clock cleaned and did not notice. The lean clone leans low and extends his fingers, his black curved talons glinting sunlight from above into the other's eyes. The bigger Kragaan winces and grabs the rock, chucking it directly at his opponent. He swiftly sidesteps the lazily tossed stone, then breaks into a dead sprint into his opponent, driving his shoulder into the bigger Kragaan's sternum, knocking the wind from his lungs completely. As the bigger Kragaan was still mid-air, the lean clone spat the knife into his opponent's mouth, then delivered a supremely loud uppercut to his enemy's chin. The knife split the bigger Kragaan's head open at the top like a melon dropped on concrete, spraying down the surrounding crowd in glowing orange brain matter. The crowd immediately leapt for their fresh meals on the ground, leaving the victor to his knife spoils. The lean clone flips over the rush of Kragaan and lands perfectly on his feet. He suddenly senses another Kragaan behind him, spinning to meet the glorious leader, Krog Vittenel. Even though he was born only this morning, he knew instinctively to kneel before him.
Kragaan, what do you call yourself?
Krog Vittenel digs his talon into the palm of his hand until bright orange blood dripped down his fingers. He takes his own blood, drawing the symbol for leader on the lean Kragaan's knurled horns.
Benryu, the name of victory.
Benryu names himself then and there, accepting his gifts from his leader.
Then you are Cal Benryu.
Vittenel nods to Lyre, who nods in affirmation. He knows not to second-guess his word, understanding that this meant Benryu would become one of his lieutenants. This rite of passage can only be dictated by the glorious leader.
It seems your tribe is in good standing. With our victories on the first front, we have found an opportunity to break this stalemate. I'm going to need your wild tribe to do just that.
Vittenel walks alongside Lyre.
My lord, I will do as you command. Crater's forces are formidable with their new weapon spores. May I also have them for my tribe?
Lyre asks politely.
I will see to it, Lyre. When we take planet Aumen, we will have enough resources for another tribe right off the bat,
Vittenel says very confidently. 2 tribes made in only a few months without interruption is truly an enormous step.
I am eager, my lord. Give me my order, and I shall bring the Empire to its knees.
Lyre beats his chest a few times, grumbling and hissing loudly. The two had completed their lap around the forest, observing pretty much every single part of the growing nest. Vittenel inspects the condition of the nest components. Each nest was comprised of crucial biomechanical components that needed a good deal of maintenance to ensure parts of the nest don't die. Spawn pits to grow specific kinds of spores and grow steward spores. Connector spores need plenty of moisture to retain their strength. Nutrient vats are prone to bursting from the thin membranes. Even vat chambers were fragile. Vittenel towers over a Kragaan working on a connector spore, damaged from some rampant Kragaan. He studies the thrifty engineer, watching him pour a handful of water onto the semi-dried connector tentacles on the end. Within a few moments, the stiffened tentacles became loose, then began wiggling about on their own. The engineer grunts in satisfaction and gives it a once-over, then brings the spore tube up to the vat chamber, and the tentacles brought itself directly into the side and fused it into the chamber's soft siding. A soft squelch and bubbling was heard, and the engineer nods. Krog Vittenel pats on the short clone's head.
Good boy. Give me a strong army, engineer.
Vittenel says as he walks away.
My lord, conditions couldn't be better for victory.
Lyre states. He furrows his brow, brushing back his meaty dreadlocks.
I feel the same, Lyre. But I also feel nervous.
Vittenel crosses his arms.
Nervous, my lord?
Lyre raises his scaly brow.
It is the lingering thought. An upperlander named Olante. He has foiled my plans once already. The rest of them. They are meager, weaklings, simple and easily crushable. But not him. How is it that one who fights as hard as the Olante fuels the Empire's spirit? He must be destroyed soon, or we may lose our war to morale.
Vittenel touches his newly installed metal plate over his still healing eye wound, typical of Kragaan medical handicraft. He remembered the bar, and his entire legion was just outside this pathetic city. Dragolante stands up, striking his face and kicking him to the ground. He remembered he dropped 2 tribes on this strange Seolan, and he slaughtered both of them to half numbers.
Indiscriminate. Vile!
He hisses out sharply.
He should not be allowed to live.
His serious face slowly curled into anger, then even further into rage. He grumbled low and exhales a sharp, long hiss. His eyes blanked out, and he began to enter a state of extreme shaking rage. Lyre could feel the same, as his own raw rage prickling up his hairs, and slowly Lyre succumbed to the sensation and soon became a frothing creature of anger. What clamor in the nest was going on began to cool down. Then the entire contents of Kragaan stood still. One by one, the Kragaan growled and frothed at the mouth, shaking rapidly with twitching fingers. Krog Vittenel suddenly comes to, feeling the time coming ever closer for the invasion to begin. He stands up, observing his new wild tribe in all uniform. Every single one, the entire tribe, wanted blood.
Dracolante, for every one of mine you've taken, I will take 1,000 of yours!
Vittenel shouts and raises both hands to the sky. In that instant, the frothing masses all stuck their hands into the air, as if commanded by some invisible word by Krog Vittenel.
We will take Aumen! Cows, sit!
Vittenel bellows with all his might. The roar became deafening as every clone looked up to the sky and roared with all their own might. The collective noise rocked the entire forest, spooking every bird and animal in the area for miles in every direction. It traveled through the valleys low, rocking off the sides of the great mountains, rolling through the grassland until it struck the port city of Janelta. Some Seolans who were paying attention froze in their tracks, immediately knowing the sound of the Kragaan Legion. Greetings, travelers! When the Chet Rulan Military staged the first front to keep the Kragaan Legion from further expanding, Krog Vittenel snuck past and planted nests in Chakram Forest on planet Aumen, right at the crest of the first front. When Aumen would be inevitably taken by the Legion, this forced part of the front to collapse on itself, resulting in one of the greatest military catastrophes in Seolan history, the Great Retreat. If you like my stories, please like, subscribe, and click on the bell to receive notifications of my next video. As always, good ventures on your journey, traveler, and may we see each other soon.